Hello and welcome. Welcome to Hemet San Jacinto Valley Chamber of Commerce. I'm Koka Lakshman. I'm one of the board members of the Chamber of Commerce. And today's session, as you all know by now, we are talking to the candidates who are running for the City Council for both the cities in our valley. And we have come up with these 6 questions that are the same questions that we have been asking all the candidates. I want to thank our Chamber of Commerce board members, and especially Cindy Lemke, our executive director, for putting so much effort into this and getting this going. And hopefully you'll appreciate what the Chamber is trying to do for you and get to know your candidates so you're well informed so you can make an educated decision. So without any further ado, I would like to introduce Crystal Ruiz. From our San Jacinto City Council, Mayor Pro Tem, I believe.
Mayor Pro Tem. It is. Hi.
Welcome, Crystal.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, it's really an honor to be here, and I want to thank you guys. This is the first time this has ever been done that I can recall. And I think it's one of the smartest things that the Chamber can do for our community. Because I talked to Andy a while back, and one of the things that the Chamber has to do is add value to what your membership is. And this right here is not only adding value to your membership, but it lets other folks know who haven't joined your chamber what kind of stuff that you do and how important your community is. So congratulations and thank you for doing it. We do appreciate it from the city as well as I'm sure the other candidates as well.
Thank you. So you want to kind of talk about who you are and why you're doing this wonderful thing? I was going to say something else, but I won't. It'll be nice.
Yeah, it has its ups and downs. I am a mom of 4. Most of you have seen us on the street corner. When I first started in 2012, I had a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 4-year-old. 2 in the strollers and 1 on each end of the banner, and we would stand on State and Ramona Expressway and wave at the traffic. And you know, astonishingly enough, by God's grace, we won that election. We had no signs, just the 1 banner. But we did the best we could, and we did it. When I say we, I mean our family. This has to be a family effort. It can never be, you know, if you're doing it for yourself, you're doing it for the wrong reason. So our whole family, we decided as a family that it was important to affect the community that we're raising our children in. And since then, our kids have grown up in politics. So they kind of are familiar with this. In fact, for the longest time, I couldn't get them to understand that we don't go out and wave at traffic when it's not an election. So it was really hard for them to understand. Even now, they do it about every 2 years because they help other candidates go out and do this. But the one thing that it's done for our children, and people always wonder, how does it affect your kids? They know community service, they know government, they know how it works. They go to my meetings and they take notes and they do papers and they understand how important it is to get out and vote. And they have shown so much kindness to people. It's totally given them a different perspective of what this country is and what our people are about. And the people of San Jacinto, they have a heart and passion for San Jacinto, and it's so cute. Because anywhere we go, they go, Mom, we're not in San Jacinto. And I go, well, you're right. How did you know? Did you see the street sign? Nope, we just know, Mom. And so they love this community. They love the people. And, you know, for the biggest thing that we can do as a family is impact those around us and fight for those like us. And that's the reason that I do what I do, is because I go out and I figure other folks are living like we do. And we live paycheck to paycheck. We have 1 income. And, you know, this COVID thing that hit, this affected all of us, each and every one of us. In the height of this, I would start work at 7 a.m. and be off at 7:20. And you want to talk about scary? It's like, where's all that food money going to come from? Where's the mortgage going to come from? God supplied it for us. He still is. And if we can be a blessing to others, that's what we do. But that's the reason I fight for our community, because we're all in this together. You don't have to be an elitist. You don't have to be rich to run for office. What you have to have is a heart and a passion for your community, and you have to have a partner with your spouse or your better half. Once you have that partnership and then you're in agreement, that's when you move forward. So that's where I'm here.
Thank you. Here's your question number 1. What do you believe to be the top 3 most pressing concerns to the business community in our valley?
Oh, number 1, first and foremost, open up. Open the businesses up. The reality is, if we don't open up, we're killing not only our economy, but our families. We're killing our livelihoods, and that is so wrong on so many levels. We found out over the course of COVID-19 different things, and at different stages, you have different perspectives. The fact that we shut it down, went completely shut down, they're finding out in other countries that shutting it down was not maybe the best thing, and that's why they're opening up. They're not having any issues. Our governor is shutting down and opening and re-shutting down, and this is craziness. You can't feed your family if you don't have a job, if you don't have a business to go to. Your employees can't feed their families if they don't have work to come to. So the number 1 issue in our community is getting these businesses open. We can do it in a safe manner. Look at the way we're sitting right now. Look at the mask, look at the social distancing. We aren't condemning people, we aren't criticizing people, but we're working together. The second thing is, I would guess probably homelessness. We are addressing homelessness. That's a huge issue here. Not so much in San Jacinto, more so in Hemet, but we're sister cities, we're partners, we're neighbors. And so when something affects your neighbor, it affects you. So we really have to get on the same platform for homelessness, as well as we also need to bring businesses here. We need to bring more jobs for our community. So for the business side of it, I would say that we want maybe more educated employees to be able to come out here and make this their home, and then start bringing their businesses here and their work here. The one thing that COVID taught us is that people can do your jobs remotely, which is a good thing for San Jacinto and Hemet, because people can live here and telecommute to their work. And a lot of businesses are staying on telecommute and they're not going back to physical offices, or they're giving their employees the choice. So that's a good thing. Our folks won't have to drive 70 miles one way to work. That's a huge deal. And that means that they're spending their money locally because they're going to be able to shop locally. They have time to go to the stores. They have time for that stuff. So I would guess those would be the top 3 reasons. Also, we did a survey recently, and one of the top ones was water. Water issues and conserving water was really a priority in the community of San Jacinto, which surprised me, because you would think with all those other issues that it wouldn't be in the top 3, but it was. So it's really amazing to think that people are really still concerned about controlling the drought and the water supply and protecting it. And so I'm glad to see of that. I work on RCA, which is Regional Conservation Authority. So it's one of our priorities to do that. So it's really interesting to see when you look at the surveys that we did recently, some of the things that are important.
Thank you. Question number 2. Do you believe the city's budget process should budget expense to meet revenue goals, or adjust revenues to meet budget and spending priorities? And also your opinion about Measure V.
Okay, so I come from the business world. That's why when I ran in 2012, I said I was going to balance the budget. 0 deficit spending, that was my plan, right? I was here a year. Well, the first year we went over the budget. And because I'm so numbers oriented, I think it was the second meeting and they brought something forward and I noticed an error. And I made it very clear I wasn't giving them any more money so we know where this error was. So that was the first year that we did budget, and we did what we should have been doing and what every city really needs to do, and that's go over the budget line by line. You need to know where you're really spending the money. Okay, so that's the first thing. It's kind of like your house budget. If you don't know where your money is, where you're spending your money, then you're in trouble. So you need to know first where you're spending the money and make the cuts where you can, right? So by 2014, we had made cut, and I was the mayor in 2014. and we cut everything. We literally closed parks, we closed a fire station, we cut police, we cut everything we could. But then we took the revenue side of it and we went, okay, here's, when you do a budget for a city, you do a worst case scenario. So when we do our budgets, we estimate worst case scenario, which means that your expenditures you're going to estimate really high, and your revenues you're going to estimate really low. And the reason you do that is so that you can cut the spending, right? And you figure out ways to increase the revenue. And that balances out, right? In our case, we've done such a good job at cutting the budget and getting the fat off of that we almost every year since 2014, when I signed the zero deficit spending budget, we've balanced out and always been in a surplus. So it starts out when you look at the budget and we go and we say, well, we're talking about the budget for next year. We're always going to look at worst case scenario. So doing the city budget's a little bit like a business, but you got to do the hard work. And if you don't do the hard work, you don't understand your budget, then you've got serious problems. So all cities should be doing this. If we can do it in San Jacinto, and let me see, in 2014, we were the fourth most fiscally sound cities in the state. The last time I was mayor was 2018, we were at number 6. By the time I'm mayor again, hopefully we'll be back at number 4. But it takes a team, and it's not just the city council who does it. We have a phenomenal city manager. He understands it. When we go in there and say, cut the budget, we want to cut so many hundreds of thousands of dollars, he finds it in the right spot without hurting us, and he knows how to bring that revenue up. And right now, the revenue for the city is we've got almost 2 million square feet of retail coming in. Do you know how amazing that is? When I first ran for city council, we had 12 new homes built in a year. 12. Now we're at 370, almost 400 homes every year, new homes built. We have more coming. So we're raising that revenue. We've decreased our spending. We're going to start seeing our surplus build up, and we're going to start seeing things really flip around. Before COVID, we were on track to hit all records. Since COVID, we're still going to be well, but we're not going to hit it like we thought we were. It is, having an effect on the community, but it's not going to take us out because we've done the hard work already.
No, you mentioned your surplus, so you still have to touch on the Measure V.
That's right, Measure V. Measure V, and we've been fighting this for years, and the reason you have deficit spending is because the revenue is really not there. We cut things like the swimming pool that everybody really wants. We can't afford it. We would love to do more to help homeless issues. We want to get the homeless people the help that they need, but there's only so much money in the coffer. A lot of cities go ahead and they deficit spend in order to accomplish those goals. We won't do that, so we had to cut things. I think you guys were around quite a while for the chamber. We used to be able to donate all kinds of money to nonprofits and charities that we found really important. We haven't done that in years. We haven't funded events that we used to fund. We haven't been able to do a lot of the things that we really want to do because we haven't had the money. And the income level, as far as bringing that in, there weren't a lot of options. Measure V is going to put more police officers on the streets. And we need that in order to fight the crime that's going to come because they're releasing more prisoners. A lot of people think that it's the fault of the city that there's all this crime here. It's not the Hemet Council's fault. It's not the San Jacinto Council's fault. The fault lies solely with Governor Newsom and those people who made the decision to release these criminals. And then, did you know that the law says that they can't live near the area they were committing the crime in? So literally, LA criminals are coming out here because we're outside that zone. So you see our crime going up, And what are we gonna do about it? Are we gonna continue to allow the crime to go up? Are we gonna continue to have the shortages, the fire? We desperately need, another truck. We desperately need more aid for people when they're in trouble, I mean, think about it. You call 911 and you've all seen the commercial. Call 911 and it's a busy signal? Are we crazy? How long should it take the police officers to get to us in time of emergency? How long? These are the things that Measure V is gonna take care of. It's gonna put us on the right foot instead of always backsliding, always going, okay, we're gonna have to cut this and we're gonna have to cut that. The biggest part of our budget is the police and fire. Public safety is the biggest part of our budget. If we don't have the income, that's where it gets cut. And it's not that we want to do it, because God knows I want my family safe, I want my neighbors safe, I want my friends safe. But we aren't left with a choice. And the problem right now is we've kicked the can down the road for so long that it's now we're in a situation where we don't have to. Now, one of the things about Measure V, every single city in Riverside County did a penny sales tax. That's what Measure V basically works out to. And they put it on there, it's a sales tax. So people who come visit San Jacinto would pay it, people who, everybody pays it, right? San Jacinto residents need to know that every time they go to Hemet, they're paying that. The difference is, Hemet's keeping the money. You're going to Temecula, you're going to Moreno Valley, Paris. They all did it already. San Jacinto sat on it from 2006. 2006. That's a long time to be sitting here. That's $5 million plus. That we could have had cops on the streets if we did not kick the can down the road. And that's where we have to stop doing it. We have to solve the problem instead of kicking the can down for the next generation, or there will not be another generation here in this community. It's very imperative that we understand that Measure V equals public safety. It equals safety of our family and our friends and our neighbors, our grandparents. And that's when we talk about Measure V and one penny. If I had my parents alive, I'd be willing to give them a lot more than a penny, because their safety is more important to me than that one penny.
Okay, thank you. Question number 3. As we know, combating crime requires the effective cooperation between the police and the local residents.
Mm-hmm.
As a candidate, what do you believe is the responsibility of the local residents to combat drugs and violence in their neighborhoods, and what solution do you have?
So the number one issue, and I've been dealing with this since, for a long time, the number one issue is that people are afraid to step out and say somebody's doing something wrong. They don't want to get involved. If we aren't involved, folks, we're part of the problem. We need to get out and make the call. If you see somebody doing drugs on your street, call. If you see something out of the ordinary, call. Now, one of the things that some of the citizens know, but some of them don't, is that I'm on weekly calls with the White House. When the riots happened, I got a call 11 minutes before to jump on that phone call. It was all across the nation. It was public safety officials and me, plus the White House staff. First of all, I was a little shell-shocked by what they said. But it really made me acutely aware of the fact that we don't call. We aren't calling when we see something odd, when we see something strange. That is the number one thing that you can do as a resident, as a business owner. You see homeless, call. There's a non-emergency number, call. We want to get them help. Let's all work together to solve it. If you don't call, how can we help? If you don't call when you see a neighbor who's got a marijuana shop in their house, how are we going to know? When they blow up the house, when they try and extract oil? Please call. Call for yourself, call for your family, call for your community, call for your fellow business people. If we all take that one action to start with, we're going to start seeing change here. If we all take a step in that direction together, we're gonna see the crime start dropping dramatically. We can track these people, and one of the criticisms is that when they call, the police can't get there, because we don't have enough police. We really need more police, and that's what goes back to Measure V. We need those cops there, we need the paramedics there, we need the fire there. So we really need to think about this in one motion. All of this, voting, doing your voting is so important in this election, because if you vote for quality people who are honest, who care about your community, that care about you, that's how we're gonna make a difference. Make a difference and think about what would happen if your family was in need. I mean, honestly, what are you gonna do? You know, are we gonna say that 1 cent isn't worth it? We need to do that 1 cent. Are we gonna say that we don't wanna pick up the phone because we don't wanna be wrong? I'd rather be wrong. Honestly, I'd rather be wrong than be really wrong and have something terrible happen. So it's something that every one of us can do. Doesn't take a lot. Put the non-emergency number in your phone, and if you see something, say something. Number one thing.
Thank you. Question number 4. During these times of COVID-19 pandemic, what role should elected officials play?
Well, we have to have common sense. We should not be fear-mongering. That is, I am so tired of people fear-mongering. We have to use common sense. People should not feel bad for wearing a mask. I mean, Cindy and I were just talking about what a beautiful mask she has on. It's gorgeous. Isn't that odd that we had that conversation? But we shouldn't be condemning people for wearing a mask. We shouldn't be condemning people for not wearing a mask. Honestly, people with asthma, like I have asthma, this is very difficult for me to wear this because it lowers my oxygen level. And when it lowers it so low, you'll see me where I kind of stagger because I can't walk right. Some people should not be wearing masks because it affects their lungs in a way that is not good. Should we be condemning people? Should we be attacking them? No. Our politicians stir the pot. We shouldn't be stirring the pot. We should be helping each other out. We should be offering what assistance we can, offering the knowledge and power that's out there. There's so much fake news out there on both sides, on all sides, that we really have to be careful about what we put out. A lot of the talk right now on COVID-19 is we have 200,000 deaths, 700,000 people, or 7 million people affected. And they word it like they're infected. Let me tell you something, 7 million people aren't affected. 7 million people made it through it. Okay, there's a big difference with, oh, we're all dying, and we made it past this, and we're moving on. And we're gonna do it together. And so that is one of my pet peeves, is when politicians get out there and they have their own personal agenda and they stir the pot to get people worked up, and they don't really think about the consequences of what they're saying, and they end up causing more trouble. Our job is to defer to the real experts. Your wife is an expert. If I was gonna have a question about COVID that I didn't know, I'd call your wife and say, hey, Dr. Coca, what's this? And I'm sure she would gladly go, here's the information. This is where I got it. But we really need to reach out to the experts and not look at Facebook and Twitter and all of that, because politicians love to yammer about what's not important and what they think for their political side is important, and really it should be for what's important to us and how is it going to affect us, and what do we need to do to maintain our own health. And stop criticizing people. Stop criticizing people for having their own opinion. Allow people to have their opinion. It's okay to disagree. It's okay to not agree with everything a politician says, because sometimes we aren't going to agree. But it's okay. There's nothing wrong with having a different opinion. We can still come together and be partners.
Thank you. Question number 5. If elected, how will you overcome or avoid the challenges or the influences of special interest groups and still do what is best for our city and accomplish your goals?
First of all, I've never had to deal with special interests. Coca knows me, Cindy knows me. I'm honest, and I'm not corrupt, contrary to bloviating wannabes. I speak from the heart and I tell the truth. People who are corrupt don't offer me money, frankly. They know it's not going to pay off. I can't be bought. Why? Because I have to look at myself in the mirror. I'm a Christian, most of you know that, and I answer to my God. And I could never do something that was corruptible or lying or cheating or stealing. That's just not who I am, fundamentally. So keeping it out of the city council, now that has been a challenge, because when I see something that's not right, one, I make sure I have all the evidence I need to prove what I'm talking about. Then two, if I don't need to use the evidence, I don't. But if I do need to use the evidence, I always have it. I always do my job and I find out exactly what's going on, and I'm not going to let our council, I haven't in the past, I will not ever let our council do something that is going to put this city, the city staff, our citizens in danger. And I have had to straighten people out on certain issues and done it publicly, as a mama bear would, protecting their cubs. I'm not going to let our community be put in a situation where they had issues like they did before. It's not going to happen on my watch. I won't stand for it.
Thank you. Here's your last question, number 6.
Yay!
Here's an opportunity for you to let the residents of this valley and the business community of this valley know what, anything else you want to inform them, or something you may have missed, or even something that you want to re-emphasize on. So here's your chance.
Folks, I have been ready for this job since God knows when. And I have been blessed by God to be able to represent you in all these situations since 2012. I have been reliable enough to do everything I said. I walked in, I had filming here within 3 months when I first started. I ran on that. I ran on balancing the budget, it was balanced, and zero deficit spending within 2 years. I have brought jobs. I have brought houses. I have made good decisions that are now starting to influence us even more and more. We're starting to see the payoff of all the good decisions that we made as council with the city staff, making the cuts and the hard choices. And I'm reliable enough to do it again. I have no desire to go out and fight someone toe-to-toe, but if I need to, I will. And I've done it on all levels of government. I represent the city on the city council, on the city committees, on the county committees. I go on state committees. I bring our voice to the people that don't even think twice about this community. And by the time I open my mouth, I have them thinking, wow, San Jacinto has something to offer. Because we do. The reality is, this community is one of the best communities I've ever lived in. And I'm proud to be a member of the community, and I'm prouder to be a council member and representing you on the city council. I'm honored to be able to do that job, and I ask for you to support me and vote for me, and to ask your friends to vote for me. You're always going to know with me what I stand for, that I tell you the truth. Sometimes it's hard, sometimes we don't want to hear it, but I'm always going to tell you the truth. I'm always going to tell you like it is. And I'm telling you right now, it's really important for you to get out and vote for good, honest, character-driven people who represent you, people who truly care about you. One of the things I will tell you that most people don't know, and I've been asked over and over again during this election, why don't you put your stuff on Facebook, all the good deeds that you do? For me, a good deed is done between me and the person I'm helping. And I've helped a lot of people. I don't think that we need to go on Facebook and broadcast our good deeds. I don't think God wants us to do that. For me, if somebody wants to tell the good deed and they want to say it, that's great. But I'm not going to do something and say something that's personal to me. So always know that I'm out there in your community. I'm representing you. I'm doing the best that I can, and I'm trying to bring our best foot forward. I try and think about when I speak to people or I go before even the President of the United States, I talk about what's important to us as a community, and I think about us as a whole. And so just know that I'm always going to be here for you as a council member, as the mayor pro tem, as your representative and your voice. And if you ever want me to get a message to anyone on any level of government, by gosh, I'll get it there. You can guarantee it. So thank you, and I appreciate your vote and support. God bless you.
Thank you, Crystal. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate you watching the interview, and please be informed and make sure you go and vote because your vote does count. Thank you.